Hello once again, everybody. I felt compelled to make this newest one because, well, I'm kind of on a roll with putting out some video content at least once in a while now, and I figure I may as well keep it up. While I still have things to talk about, rather than forgetting and losing them, and then we're right back in the slump. But at any rate, kind of wanted to talk today about Goku. Specifically, how this fandom does not get Goku. And I've kind of touched on this before. People don't get that Goku, they haven't gotten Goku for a long time. The whole he's a horrible dad thing, I've touched on that. And I will link that video in the end of this one. But, because I don't feel like, completely retreading that territory. But today I do feel like talking about something that happened in the most recent episode and over the course of the last several episodes, and something that I'm noticing about this arc of the series in general. Um, Dragon Ball Super 80, I believe we're on 86 now, just passed. Was it 86 or 87? But at any rate, the last couple episodes, really, uh, they both factor into it. We have seen so many things about Goku get reconfirmed. Things that Toriyama have said for a long while now. Toriyama was saying this about Goku back in like 97. Back right after the series had ended. And he said it again later on in an interview with Masuka Nozawa many years later. I think it was a Battle of the Gods related interview. And, everyone keeps trying to say, oh, Toriyama forgets everything, that's why you can't take this one seriously. It's like, yeah, but when he said the exact same thing in an interview with, what was it, Wired, I believe, back in 97, very shortly after the series ended and it would still be fresh in his mind, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's a consistent characterization that he has held on to over the years. Toriyama's quote unquote forgetfulness is also a grave exaggeration to the degree he forgets things, and also the importance of what he has forgotten, and also, frankly, taking some self deprecation a little bit too literally, but that's neither here nor there. Nobody's going to argue, though, that he didn't forget some stuff, some bigger than others, but, when you don't really write a series for like almost 20 years, that can happen. But Goku's characterization is something that has stayed consistent, and it was visible even when he was a child in Dragon Ball, all the way through Z. And when it showed back up in Super, people flipped their lids. And what I mean by that is there was this really bizarre notion, and I think it's fueled partly by the dub and also just wanting to have some backlash against the abridged stuff, that Goku matured to a healthy, normal, natural adult level. He became very wise and sage-like. He had all his cards in order, all his ducks in a row. He took things, 100% seriously when they needed to be. He listened to and respected authority. And I'm just sitting here scratching my head wondering where in the actual hell people are getting that from. Because that is not Goku. That has never been Goku. Goku, even as a child, was like this. Goku is not some benevolent being. Alright, Toriyama had said that one thing that he actually did dislike about the original anime characterization of Goku, which is sadly what most people are basing their perception of Goku on, so this could be part of the problem, was that they missed some of what made Goku Goku. in that they tried to make him a far more heroic character, especially as he got older, than Toriyama had intended, than Toriyama had written. Goku wasn't a hero for the sake of being a hero. Goku, in fact, wasn't a hero at all. And this is where a lot of people like to just plug their ears and not listen because they think, oh, you're giving the Vegeta fanboys a point. You're giving the haters a point. No. It's not a point. It's just a fact. Goku is not a hero. None of them are. Not in the traditional sense, anyway. And that's why I find it funny when people talk about Goku as being the generic shonen protagonist. It's like, the dude doesn't even fall under the trope. In fact, everyone talking about how unique Luffy is and that Luffy's not really a hero. Goku's a lot more like Luffy than people think. In fact, Luffy's about the closest character I can think of when it comes to Goku, and for good reason. That's because Oda kind of based him on him. But, Goku doesn't go around looking for people to help. Goku does not set out on his journeys with the goal of helping anyone he meets. Goku does not necessarily care about that. Goku goes out looking for strong opponents to fight or to fulfill his own ends, to do whatever he thinks he needs to do. And as a result of that, good things sometimes happen. For example, Goku wasn't looking to fight the Red Ribbon Army. Goku was not looking to liberate the people of Jingle Village. He wound up doing that in the pursuit of his grandpa's Dragon Ball. He did not go about setting out to hunt down the Red Ribbon Army until they had killed his friend's father. He did, none of this was his goal. He did it, and he was justified in doing it, and it was a good thing he did. It was something that needed to be done. He did stop someone evil, but he didn't do it just for the sake of stopping someone who was evil, per se. I mean, honestly, if they hadn't sent Tao after that Dragon Ball, if they had stopped going after Goku, they might not have heard of him ever again. The Red Ribbon Army could still exist, at least until it would probably almost inevitably bump into him at some point. But that's not something Goku really was invested in until it affected him. And I know a lot of people like to say, oh, that's selfish, and yeah, it is. Goku is a bit of a selfish being. That's not to say that he's not kind. That's not to say that he doesn't help other people. And that's not to say that he doesn't have unselfish moments. But Goku is the center of Goku's universe. And that's something that's kind of true of Saiyans in general. Vegeta, look at Vegeta. Vegeta's the same way. Even now, he typically mostly thinks of how things will affect him. He cares about his family, but he also cares about him. Mostly him. He wants to go train. He's just scared not to. He wants to, keep up with Goku. That is still his primary focus. He is still kind of upset about the idea that Goku could potentially go off and train while he can't and get stronger than him. That bugs him. There is a self-focus that's kind of inherent in Saiyans. It's a pride thing. It is a negative trait. It's not severe in Goku. I mean, Goku's not going to be like, why should I care? I don't care. It's just that a lack of social awareness, you might say. He doesn't hear about this evil out there and decide, I'm going to go stop it, But when he sees it happening in front of him, he's sure as heck not just going to let it slide either. And that is, I think, a trait that is very often overstated in him. Like, to be fair, by people who want to bag on him. They will say, Goku doesn't care about anything but himself. Goku doesn't even care about his family. That's not true. Um, and on that note, I do kind of want to say that there have been people who pointed out that Toriyama said Goku actually views his family more like really good friends. He doesn't really elevate them above. I think that's being a little misinterpreted because a lot of people like to think that that lowers the level of his family. I don't think it lowers the level of his family because Goku does hold his family very dear to him. When he sacrificed himself to stop Cell from destroying the planet, his words to Gohan, I'm very proud of you. Tell your mother I'm sorry. It was very much a case of, not tell your mom and Bulma I'm sorry, tell everyone I'm sorry. It was tell your. He does have a sense that they do have a unique relationship with him. What they mean when he doesn't elevate them above that, it's not lowering them to the level of friends. It's more elevating the level of his closest friends, the people around him, to family, more or less. That he would die for any of these people. That they are like blood to him. I mean, look what happened when Krillin was killed by Frieza. The way Goku blew up, you know, he blew up that way. He blew up that way when Gohan got kidnapped. He blew up that way when he found out that Black Kid killed Chi Chi and Goten. The way that he got extremely ticked off at Vegeta and Nappa when Tien and Yamcha and Chaozu and even Piccolo, were dead. Especially, I mean, Piccolo at that time was still a rival, but I think it's with him. It's more, you killed him, and now the Dragon Balls are gone. At that point, anyway. Though Goku isn't one to really hold a grudge either, so yeah, he'd probably still be genuinely upset by it. But the point is, it's less, oh, you're only my pal, and more, no, my pals are my family too. My friends are family too. Um, in that sense, Vegeta, when they said that Vegeta, however, does hold his family in a higher regard, that makes more sense. Vegeta doesn't really give a crap about anybody, so for him to care about anybody else would elevate them significantly higher than friends who he would kind of keep at an arm's distance anyway. It's also the fact that, they're his. So he views them as his. And, they're their royalty too. And the whole Saiyan bloodline thing. And there's a bit of a pride element to that. There is. But that's not to say he doesn't genuinely care either. It's just, they operate on different levels. You mess with Bulma, Vegeta goes into a rage. You mess with, say, Yamcha or Gohan, he won't really care. You mess with Yamcha or Gohan or Chi-Chi or Krillin, Goku's gonna care about on that same level. Um, but it was actually, what I find fascinating is that finally someone actually outright says it in Dragon Ball Super. Goku himself. I don't really, when a kid, 17 calls him, the savior of the world and everything. And he says, honestly, I didn't really think about saving the world when I was doing it. That wasn't what I was trying to do. I got as far as I did fighting strong guys. And it just kind of worked out that way. I wanted to fight these strong people. I found these strong people. I wanted to fight them, and it turned out to work out for the best. But, he also said, and when I see, innocent people, and all these animals, potentially just getting wiped out, I can't do nothing. I can't not do something about that. And that is who Goku is. Goku, honestly, is, in that sense, kind of a fairly normal person. Most people don't go out there looking for people who need rescued, looking for people who need help. But if they see someone in need, more often than not, they won't ignore it. If they see someone that they can help, more often than not, that is being threatened, more often than not, they will. Unless, well, that depends. But that's a social commentary for another day. But yeah, Goku. I believe Toriyama once described him as a hero who is not a hero, a protagonist who wasn't a hero, which in a lot of shonen stuff at the time wasn't really that common. You had your shonen manga where the protagonist was like pretty serious and a hero or an anti-hero of sorts who went out there, trying to right these wrongs or get revenge on someone who had done something horrible and etc. etc. Goku wasn't like that. He was unique for his time, and honestly, even today, he's still unique. There's so many characters that people try to say are Goku knockoffs or Goku clones or Goku's not unique by today's standards, but really, it's funny that people say that and yet find Luffy to be so refreshing and unique when they're almost exactly the same character in a lot of respects. Um, I mean, there are differences to make them both very distinct from one another too, but in terms of the core of who they are, they're very similar. And it's something that people just seem to miss. And willingly, too. I mean, there are even people that I have encountered. One person specifically, who I actually got into a big old row with, because first of all, they said that by pointing out the fact that Goku did not set out to do all this stuff. He didn't set out to stop Frieza in the name of justice. He let Vegeta go so he could have a chance to fight him again. He gave Piccolo that Zensu bean so that Piccolo would come back stronger so he could have a good fight. Not inherently out of some sense of compassion like some people think. Um, he did, you know, sell that Zenzu bean to try to keep it a more interesting fight with Gohan because he mistakenly assumed that Gohan was like him. And when he saw what it did take for that kid to let that power out and what exactly it did do to him, he did become concerned. He was, glad it finally happened, but at the same time, he was concerned, especially leading up to it, because that kid was taking one hell of a beating and still refusing to unleash that power or to even really try to fight back much because he really didn't see a point in fighting, especially since it was being treated like some big game. It seemed like a pointless fight to him. And Cell's sitting there manhandling him, both because at that point in time he was stronger than him, and because, well, Gohan just couldn't bring himself to get that angry. He didn't like the level of anger it took for him to bring out that power, and when he did, he became cruel, and he became, violent and vicious, and he didn't like that. It runs very contrary to his nature. And that's a bit of a Saiyan side, too. I mean, when you look at Gohan's actions during that fight, he refused to finish off Cell, even though he easily could have, because he thought he needed to suffer more. And that is what allowed him to activate that self-destruct. And Gohan kind of knew that. And the shock of that is what brought him back from that violent brink. And it's a trait that really is present in a lot of the Saiyan children, too, and it's present in their fathers. And Goku, being a full-blooded one, does have a Saiyan nature to him. It's just not the brutal, bloodthirsty nature that most of them have. And I mean, it's just fascinating to me how few people seem to get Goku. Or, as I was saying, in this particular case, refuse to. Because not only is pointing out the fact that he didn't do all this stuff for the sake of being benevolent, somehow discounting every good thing he ever did, I got told, but I got this long lecture on something that was completely inapplicable called Death of the Author, where the author's opinion ceases to matter in terms of artistic interpretation. The problem is, this isn't artistic interpretation. This is an objective work of fiction with a definitive story being written by an author, and this is how he's explaining his character. And this isn't a case where you can sit there and reinterpret the character as you see fit. You cannot interpret this character as this moral crusader, as this sage-like being. You just can't, because it's not in him. It's not who he is. This isn't even a case of, the writer injecting his opinion versus what's on the page. This is him stating what's on the page and it being evident that it's on the page. It's evident in the series. It's seen in this episode. The dialogue, the words even come right out of Goku's mouth. This is who Goku is. This is who Goku has always been. And I'm sorry, but if you really don't like that, truth be told, you probably don't really like Goku. Honestly, I think it would be a very, very silly reason not to like Goku. But if seeing Goku the way he was written to be and seen to be, the Goku who so wanted this fight with Vegeta after he saw him murder all those people that he was willing to even murder the Kaioshin, the Supreme Kai, right there, if he did not get out of the way and let them fight. Knowing that could still help resurrect Majin Buu. What do you say? Gohan, go try to stop this thing before it happens. There you go. That's it. Stop him from resurrecting before he does. Destroy it. But I'm going to take him, and I don't care what anyone says, I am going to beat the crap out of him. That is Goku. Even late Z, where they try to claim he was so much more mature, that is Goku. I really don't get why y'all don't see that is Goku. This is not a hard thing to grasp. It is spelled out for you now in plain English, for lack of a better term. I mean, you can read it. It's in the subs. You can hear it. It's in his voice. When it's dubbed, you're going to hear it again in English. And it is, I'm sorry, very consistent with how Goku's been. And the fact that people tried to twist this somehow into Goku is so inconsiderate and cares so little about everyone else's life that he wanted this tournament even though he knew it might murder everyone. No. No, because you know what? Normal people don't sit there and think, maybe, potentially, because this guy is said to be dangerous, this could lead to the complete elimination of all 12 universes. No, no one thinks that, because realistically, how could it? Who would come to that conclusion? Beerus didn't even come to that conclusion. Beerus told him to forget the tournament and forget going to bug him, because if he were to put Zeno into a bad mood, he and their entire universe could be erased on the spot. It had nothing to do with this tournament could bring us disaster. No, it was messing with Zeno, who wiped out all these universes so long ago in a temper tantrum, you may recall. could potentially be dangerous if you do anything to upset him. That is why Beerus wanted Goku staying away from him. Because Beerus was just as shocked when he heard that was the consequence for losing the tournament. And then we find out, oh, hey, guess what? They were actually all going to be wiped out anyway. But Goku reminding them of that tournament, well, that's what actually staved it off. And that's what gave at least one universe a fighting chance. Yes, that's right. That tournament, it wasn't a case of everyone would have survived if Goku hadn't reminded him. It was a case of if Goku hadn't reminded him that he promised that tournament, he would have just wiped out all these universes anyway on his own. Because it was a scheduled event. Which, by the way, is another thing that is directly spelled out for you in the series. Twice! By Whis at the exhibition matches when they concluded, and by Vados when she was telling all the other gods, you know, you guys, at least one of you universes, is going to owe your life to him because he gave you a chance to survive when otherwise you all would have just been eliminated. And you know what? Just like this fandom, they still found a petty reason to latch on and hate him and insist that he's a horrible person. This whole arc, I swear to God, is pointed directly at the fandom. It's like a big old mirror. All the stuff that they say, all the way that they behave is being continuously reflected throughout this entire arc. Nobody who isn't, you know, on the level of a god has any worth. You know, the human characters, they're irrelevant and they don't matter. They can't bring anything to the tournament. Addressed, both of those. Goku's character, addressed, both of those. The fandom jumping to conclusions and twisting things the way they want to see them, addressed in the show. All of this is just being exposed and put right out there and even spelled right out for so many people in this fandom, and yet they still refuse to see it. I mean, heck, people were debating whether or not Krillin actually got stronger, for example, at the end of 75-76, and even after episode 84. People were still trying to debate whether or not he was stronger than he used to be, or just as strong, or weaker even. There are still people insisting he got weaker. This episode confirms what? He got stronger. So no, he is not weaker than he used to be. In fact, now he is stronger than he was back in his peak. He has elevated. So I guess what I'm saying is, I don't understand why this fandom cannot grasp things that are literally set in front of them and spelled out and explained. And I especially cannot understand, for the life of me, why they're still so obstinate and stubborn about hating Goku for literally being Goku. All the while claiming to be such big, hardcore fans. Well, at any rate, that's going to wrap up this video. Once again, I will have the Goku being a good or bad father video in the thing at the end here. I really don't know what these are called anymore. And once again, if you have any requests of something you'd like me to talk about, ideas in general, drop it in the comments below. If I think I can make a video on it, I will try my best to do so. If not, I'm sorry, but I will at least give them a read. That's it for now, and I will catch you guys later. See ya.